Hello, and welcome to SIA's Vertical Insight Symposium on Retail Security. I'm Ron Hawkins, Senior Director of Industry Relations for the Security Industry Association. SIA is the leading trade association for physical technology security businesses, with more than 1,600 corporate members, including manufacturers, integrators, service providers, and others. Here are a few of our upcoming events, including a border security briefing on December 2nd. That'll be in person. That same day, we have an online event countering the UAS threat in the United States and Europe. That is a webinar that we are doing jointly with COES, the Confederation of European Security Services. So we're excited to partner with them for our first transatlantic webinar. Then we have the Identity and Biometrics Symposium the next day. That will also be an in-person event. And then we go back online later that day for the virtual career fair being hosted by RISE, which is SIA's SIA's community for young professionals. And of course, next week we will be at ISC East, and we have multiple events being held in conjunction with the show, including the Protecting Utilities Lunch, the Return on Security lunch, the Women in Security Forum Happy Hour, SIA Celebrates and Honors, and others. And be sure to visit us in booth 1037 if you do happen to be in New York. You can learn more about those events and register at securityindustry.org. And if you're not yet a member of SIA, you can check us out at securityindustry.org/join and find out the benefits of membership. Please remember that we will have a Q&A at the end of each session today. So click on that icon if you'd like to ask questions or make comments. We do have a full agenda, and if you happen to miss anything or you need to step away, we will make the recording available within the next few days. Before we get started, I want to make sure to thank our sponsors, Salient Systems and Verkada. We greatly appreciate their support, and you can learn more about those companies on their websites, salientsys.com, that's SALIENTSYS.com, and Verkada.com, VERKADA.com. We also are very pleased to be able to present today's webinar in partnership with our friends at the Retail Industry Leaders Association, RILA. We'll have a session from them in about an hour, and you can learn more about the organization at rila.org, rila.org. All right, first up, we are going to have a discussion about various aspects of retail security with experts from Salient Systems and Pavion. I'd like to open things up by asking each of you to introduce yourselves for a minute or so. So Grant, would you mind leading us off?
Yeah, Ron, thanks for having me today. Appreciate this. Yeah, my name is Grant Cowan. I'm the Vice President of the Central Region for Salient Systems. I've also worked primarily in our retail space with our team, working with our retailers across the globe on identifying solutions, working with integration partners, and what I like to call building an ecosystem for our retailers to work with by connecting those technologies. So happy to talk about that today.
All right, thanks, Grant. And Steve.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here, folks. Yeah, Steve Francis. I'm based out of Kansas City, Missouri. As Ron mentioned, work for Pavion. Have been working for Pavion for about 8 years now, and heavily retail focused. A lot of my customers, which is why I'm on here. Also, just personally, I'm an avid Royals fan, avid Kansas City Royals fan, even though I'm in Taylor Swift Chiefs town right now.
All right, thanks, guys. All right. We'll start off pretty broadly, and then we'll drill down into some more specific things. But can you talk about some of the key considerations for security in a retail environment? And Grant, we'll start off with you again.
Yeah, sure. I think, probably the best thing I've ever heard when I'm out in the field with our customers for the past, 15 years, is we got to do more with less. That's the number one thing I hear. And our goal as a technology provider is to try to figure out how to do that, is to provide our customers with a way to do more with less. And so for us, it's, everything that we want to get done with our customer base out there, with our retail customers, it's a pure balancing act. We try to balance, safety for the customer, safety for the associates, the loss prevention, and bringing down shrink. And also, at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen unless the solution provides a frictionless customer experience. Because at the end of the day, shrink, is not going to get in the way of providing a great customer experience. So that's what we always hear. So the key consideration for us is, hey, we got to do more with less, and it really starts with people and safety first. And so we can't the biggest thing that we see out there and our customers are asking about, it's not just necessarily the shrink rate. It's how do they control violence, how do they control aggression, how they provide staff safety. And our retailers are just having more and more reports of incidents between customers or bad actors and their staff out there. So those are the considerations that we start with right there at the top. How do you do more with less, and how can we keep people safe, and how can we still provide that kind of that customer experience that our customers are looking for out there.
All right, thanks for that. Steve, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, and I would echo those same comments about doing more with less. And I think it's really our customers, our retail customers are budget constrained or budget stricken, just like everyone out there pretty much. But I think it's really also just selecting it's selecting the right solution to get that ROI. Um, I think there's a multitude of options out there, and really it's just selecting the right just the right solution to solve your business needs out there.
Right. So when you talk about doing more with less and looking more at the ROI of the technology that you're deploying, are you seeing many operational uses of security technologies, heat mapping, queue monitoring, things like that? Are you seeing that dual use in retail?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's where, there's been a big shift in the last couple of years of, on that ROI topic is, it's not about, how can I implement systems and how can I implement solutions to solve my security problems, but it's also how can I move the business forward as well. And I think, a lot of people in security are starting to get aware of the benefits that their solutions can provide well beyond security. I think that's just been a hot topic the last couple of years and will continue to be a really hot topic.
I think, hey Ron, one of the out there is that both Steve and I know I've known Steve for a long time. Both Steve and I are coaches. We're youth coaches for sports, and so at the end of the day, like if you look at any sports environment, they're going to review the game tape every time. That's when you talk about the NFL, they're going to go back and review the game tape, and they talk about what they can find, what they can see. And so for a long time, coming from the pure video side, we've been advocates of reviewing the game tape and letting our customers, our retailers, go back and review the game tape. What worked well? What didn't work well? If there's if we had an incident, how did we do that? Because we can go back and review that. Now, what we see more, and where Steve is really 100% right on, is that ROI. Now, with integrating different technologies, especially like AI or analytics, it allows them to review it quicker. And so, it's, once again, using that sports analogy, instead of sitting there and grinding over the tape, where a lot of coaches do, they can use the analytics to help find exactly what they're looking for, narrow that down, and review how did this work, how did it not work. And so that could be both from a safety and security standpoint on, hey, how do we react to this particular incident? How do we react to when this vehicle came into an undesignated area? How did we act when this flash mob came into the store? But it also could be used for, hey, how did we, with our new holiday section, one of our retailers asked one time is, hey, we have a precipitous drop in our customers basically coming in and going to the seasonal section and not walking the rest of the store. Why is that? And so, by being able to go back and analyze that video, we can do exactly the same thing that NFL coaches do, is figure out what's working, what's not working, and how do we fix that.
Hmm. Interesting. Studying film like on Monday after a game, right?
Yeah, we're the Monday morning quarterbacks.
Yeah. Right. All right. So back to security. So obviously we're no longer dealing with just shoplifters anymore. I mean, you've seen the rise in ORT, ORC, organized retail theft, organized retail crime. How has that changed the retail security environment and how you deploy security technologies and practices?
Yeah, I'll start with that one. I would say in the past 4 to 5 years, especially after COVID, I think everything that we did up until that point was all about how can we make it very quick for our investigators to obviously record video, but go back and review it. That was primarily our given assignment when it came to video integration to video analytics, whatever it was. That was our driven or our goals. Now it is all about intelligence driven security. And so it's about being able to collaborate with different parts of the country and provide information real time, whether it's through like a security operations center or kind of an intelligence center, kind of a beehive of data that's flowing in, or getting that information out to the people that need that information. So, I think the best thing, if we've all traveled up and down the East Coast, the I-95 corridor, if something happens in Miami, how quickly can I get that up to Jacksonville so they can be on the alert for what's going to happen there? So where we've seen that big drive is how do we take that intelligence and how do we share it very quickly? It's where pre-COVID, our goal was, hey, let's get that incident. Let's be able to take it to prosecution. Let's be able to get it prosecuted. Let's be able to maybe trespass this person, whatever we want to do with that video. But now it's how quickly can I get that video, get the analytics, get the vehicle, the make, the license plate, the number of people, what's going on there, and how quickly can I share that data with the rest of the organization so we can mitigate the loss downstream from that incident.
Yeah, and I mean, completely agree. I mean, I think just like Grant said, I think, years ago it was, yeah, how to scrub the video fast enough to find the incident. And I think the manufacturer have done a great job about producing products that do that. And like Grant said, now it's about getting that information out there. It's about sharing those findings. It's also about we see a lot of urgency in different technologies or integrations with different technologies as well. But it just seems to be evolving, an evolving door. And then, like I said, the big key is like Grant said, is just being able to share that quickly, internally and externally as well.
All right, so these are, oh, sorry, Grant,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I think one of the things that it's really hard for integrators like Steve and Pavion is that it typically traditionally in the especially the retail security space, there were kind of one-off siloed solutions. Basically, hey, we have an issue with slip and falls with water on the floor and the cameras can't detect it, or because it's kind of a clear solution, right? And hey, somebody's going to build an analytic to try to detect that. And so, Steve would be sitting in a meeting and I'd be across from him and the customer would be like, hey, I saw this analytic that does this. I have this company that does that. And Steve's, they're trying to figure out how to make that all work together. And so, that narrative that we're trying to put together, is how do you take all these various solutions as an integrator and as a technology provider for Salient? How do we take all those different things integrated in so that when we talk about trying to provide that real-time intelligence, it can be done quickly, and we can take all those different sources and bring it back into an open interface that will allow you to grab all that data and then send it back out.
Right. All right, so you have these multiple systems, these multiple sources, but at the same time, these are public spaces. So you don't have some of the layers of defense that you might have at another facility. At least during business hours, you don't have access control, you don't have identity verification. So does that put more of a burden on video to deter, detect, and defeat?
Yeah, I'll step in here, Grant, and I'd say, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we only see, from our side, we see, in the retail space that, yeah, the burden on the video system, or really the emphasis on the video system only growing. There's other technologies, as we talked about, that can aid, but during business hours, there may not be so many technologies out there, but we see what can be done off video from an analytic AI standpoint, and really believe that the video is king, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg with what we can do from the video.
Yeah, I think Steve's really 100% right there. I wish, I think every retailer wishes that they could treat their store or their mall or their outdoor mall like an airport, and we got to screen people to come in. That would make life a lot easier, and that would probably put us out of business because we wouldn't have to really worry about that if everybody's kind of checking in before they come into a real retail store. And the beauty of retail is it's an open environment. It makes it, people can come in and go as they want. But yeah, and we're not going to be able to have everybody badge in and sign in to figure out where they're going in the building. So ultimately, at the end of the day, our job as a video manufacturer through our integrators is to see how far video can push into the parking lots, into the as people are entering the different zones of the retail. When we work with our different retailers, we look at, hey, how can we look at either LPR or vehicle detection in the parking lots to once again either help identify or help classify that data as those people are entering just the outer reaches of the retail store and the parking lots, and as they approach the store, how can we can catalog that data, whether it's through facial recognition or identify different objects that person may be carrying, or different classification of the things that we can go back and search for from a metadata standpoint for that person. Those are things that we're looking for. So video plays a very key significant marker to help once again gather that data as far as we can from the door of the facility.
Right. All right, so great. I think you mentioned flash mobs earlier. So we've all seen the videos of groups coming into stores, smash, grab on kind of a mass basis. Is there much that can be done to combat that?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to happen, and so I think there's things that we can do that. So we're not, from the end of the day, outside of Steve and I standing out there and blocking people from coming in, that's not going to, it's not going to stop it. But what we can do is we can absolutely help reduce risk. We can shorten the event, and we can help law enforcement close the loop. And as we all know, and we hear the stories about it, it's whether it's the inability to get enough video to prosecute, or the things that we have to challenges on the legal side of it. How can we help law enforcement close that loop with video? And so these are really fast, high impact incidents. And what we have to try to figure out is to get it away from, trying to react, letting the safety be priority for the staff members, where they can step back and not be involved in the situation, and they can go into incident management mode. And so what they can do from there is that we can immediately start gathering data that we can give to law enforcement, or send send downstream through intelligence driven design. So where we could take those the different characteristics of the people or the vehicles or the license plates, and be able to share that information downstream to other stores, or share it with other law enforcement departments up and down areas that may be next or to be targeted.
Right. I'm sorry, Steve, let me jump in for just a
Yeah.
quick. You mentioned share with other stores. Does that mean share with other stores in the same brand, or broadly across all stores in the area?
That's a great question. I think where we are definitely seeing now is working obviously inside the store, or inside the like you said, the different stores
Brand.
inside of the brand, or the same type of the stores that they're working with there. The next step, and I think where law enforcement is going to need to go is kind of having those beehives for sharing that information to law enforcement, and law enforcement being able to get that out to other stores or other potential targets in that area. And that's really where you see kind of the new way of policing and the new way of doing investigations, is having dedicated states, federal, or county ORC task force, where they can bring that data in. They're solely focused on that, bringing that data in, and then being able to share that across the region. That's really the goal for building these ORC task forces, to take that data and to really be able to mine it and get it out quickly to future impacted targets.
Right. Steve, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely data sharing. You guys mentioned it, but data sharing from internally and external platforms as well can definitely at least help bring light to incidents that are happening or that have happened. But also, I think one thing that I've seen in some of my customers is using the camera systems just for operational compliance and really training as well. So if an incident did occur on camera, that can be used as a training tool for even outside the company, but definitely internally as well. So we see a lot of a lot of our customers just really leveraging the camera system for incidents that occurs and learnings that can be found from that.
It 100%. I think, some Steve and I are definitely not involved in, but I think it's a great point that he made there is that go back and reviewing the video allows the retailers to to really build policies around what they see, and they can see how those it's, once again, it's just like reviewing the game tape as a coach is seeing how they're acting and how they're reacting to the different roadblocks that retailers are putting in to try to thwart these type of events. It allows you to create clear written policies. And so, if there's physical, by really showing, hey, this is really how it worked well by having a no physical confrontation policy. You can show the video and say, hey, employees, this is how we did a great job of doing no physical confrontation. Nobody was hurt, and we were able to capture the data that we needed. When you are able to review the video, you can also turn into kind of role playing events. Once again, it's outside the realm of what Steve and I do on a day to day basis, but you can. How do you handle when you suspect somebody of shoplifting? How do you handle verbal aggression? What do you do in that flash mob style event? Those are things that you can really kind of help train by using the video to show employees what could happen, and then show what good things and what bad things happen in that event to create those policies, and to help train them to do a better job.
Right. All right. So we've talked a lot about external threats. What about insider threat? How can security technologies be applied there?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we try to do is, once again, ORC is not the only sign of shrink, and it's one of the most visual. It's one of the things that hits the news a lot. But we talk about internal shrink as well. Once again, it comes back to be data. We talk about big data. You see it on TV, you see it on in the newspaper, whatever it is. And when people talk about big data, they talk about the cloud, and they talk about all these things. There's really no, hey, here's what it actually is. But when you talk about data, big data and data in specific, when you talk about retailers with thousands of locations and tens of thousands of cameras, video surveillance is the biggest data out there. I mean, it's just one of the biggest data sources out there. And once you start being able to mine that video and use AI and analytics to help evaluate that, that's really where you can help identify those type of things. And what we look at Salient is how can we take integrations, and how can we bring in other products that are helping to do that, and to help identify that data. So whether it's working with our retailers on the distribution side, and looking at how they are video up and down the supply chain. How can we identify the loss between the manufacturing site and the distribution facility, between the distribution facility and the storefront? Those are places where a lot of times it gets lost on. We don't even know where to look. And so what we try to do on the video side is how can we take the different processes, the different softwares, the different technologies that are already in place up and down the supply chain, link it to video, and then help them mine that data very, very quickly. Because once again, we go back to the first premise. We got to do less with more. There's not these operators that are working up and down the supply chain to help try to find those things. We got to help and give them the technology integrations that make their job easier, so they can get through those and identify the bad actors, and be able to hold their feet to the fire on what's going on.
Right. Yeah, Steve, can you talk more about the integrations, whether it's connecting video to point of sale or whatever might be effective in that environment?
Yeah. We see with a lot of our customers exactly what Grant's talking about, is the integration being key, AI and analytics being key as well. But yeah, the integration between, Grant already mentioned this, but the video and the POS integration, or video and RFID or EAS integration. We just see those as really making a significant difference. As Grant pointed out, we're living in an age of mass amounts of data, and able to concatenate that data together, and having the ability to push out any sort of suspicious behavior, or flag suspicious behavior, can always thwart internal theft. So yeah, with our customers, we see integration being key in blocking internal theft.
All right. I think you won the Word of the Day award with concatenate.
I quickly just Googled that to figure out what he's talking about. So he's big time over there.
All right. So I want to go back to something that you started to address, Grant, in terms of AI analytics, dealing with all this big data. Can you talk more about the role of AI, cloud-based systems, and where you think it's going in the next few years?
Yeah, I think actually one of the interesting things when we talk about AI and analytics, a lot of times we have to slow our customers down and say, hey, what exactly are we talking about? I had a non-retail customer I was actually working with last week, and their internal security team, basically sent over, hey, here's an AI questionnaire on how you're using the system. And I think a lot of times we throw out the word AI. 100% do. I think everybody does. And at the end of the day, what we're looking at is more of the analytics side, and we're not building those models. Our technology partners are building those models. But at the end of the day, when it gets into the customer's hands, it's basically analytics. It understands what it's looking for, and it's trying to drive that. So what we look for is, when we're trying to come up with those data points that the customers are looking for, is once again, how do we automate things, easier for that customer? And so, one of the things that Steve and I get pulled into a lot of time is, a lot of time loss prevention is handling, the distribution side. Some of our, so a lot of our retailers have manufacturing sides, and you have the loss prevention that are managed, looking at all these different things. And the beauty of the analytics that are modeled around, AI technologies is that we can look at, technologies that may help on the manufacturing side. We can look at, other sources of data, other sources of analytics that can help on the distribution side. And then we can, specifically in the store, at the end of the day, the store is kind of the sexy piece. Hey, we got these analytics that we can drive in the store, and we want to be able to do, line management, queue management. We want to be able to do slip and fall incidents. We want to be able to look at LPR outside. We want to look at metadata, blue car traveling 30 miles an hour in front of the store, things like that. And that's all great. But what we try to do from our perspective as a technology provider is, those are right now three separate categories: manufacturing, distribution, and in-store retail. Three separate categories of analytics that are out there. And what we try to do from Salient Stand is, we want to be an open platform manufacturer that brings all of those in. And so we can help up and down that supply chain to help the manufacturing side, the distribution side, and the in-store be able to use analytics and maximize that with one platform.
All right.
Yeah, and
Steve.
I'm sorry. You want to
Oh, please go
pivot
ahead.
to a different? Oh yeah, I'll jump in. Yeah, so just to echo what Grant's saying, we also see just a massive trend towards AI and analytics, and from a security standpoint and from an operational standpoint. But I do believe that the operational standpoint analytics will be more prevalent and will carve the path for video systems in the future. I really believe in that. I think just the data that you can get from the camera systems, just like, heat mapping or queue management, or even service performance, or employee compliance as well. Just the data obtained from the camera systems, I think will just start to become more prevalent. The technology will advance, and then I think the key piece will be that will evolve to our manufacturing partners will evolve to have a lot of these metrics, be able to have an output that's very digestible from a leadership standpoint, or from an executive standpoint, to where you could, send heat mapping information of a year at a store, some sort of information like that by district or anything like that. I think the like I said, the key is going to be, how to get all of this data out there into a format that can really, really move the business. And I think we're heading there big time. And I think that's going to be a big, big trend in the next couple of years.
All right, great. All right, approaching the end of our session, so I do want to get to the questions that our attendees have submitted. All right, let's start with this one. Are any AI-based analytics used today by major retailers to prevent theft? Like they mentioned Walmart or Macy's, companies like that. Then they say many 7-Eleven, CVS stores in downtown cities still struggle with theft. Is the investment decided based on the value of items under theft?
Yeah, let's start with that first question there. So I would say absolutely. There are technologies that are being used today. It can't speak for every single retailer and what they specifically use, but 100% right now. And what we look at is that I think there's a couple different tiers of analytics that we're looking at today, and there are various retail end users that are deploying these. We look at first as kind of that the camera base. That's really cost effective for our retailers right now. Is that they can buy you know, an ONVIF compliant camera, be able to use the analytics directly on there, and it helps, you know, with some basic things on identifying, you know, people that are going to certain areas, license plate recognition, you know, dwell time analysis for vehicles outside, or dwell time analysis for people inside. We can flag those type of things. Second thing that we look for that manufacturers are doing is cloud-based or specialty analytics, and that's something where, you know, basically it's maybe a single operation analytic that's using one or two cameras inside of a store, and so we may be doing facial recognition. We may be doing specific, you know, weapon detection or crowd management. You know, some specific things that are driven, you know, by a single camera throughout the store. Last thing that we see, is that, you know, a lot of our customers or a lot of our retailers may be looking at a more server-based technology that runs analytics, you know, that allows us to pull a lot of metadata to streamline investigations. And so you'll see, maybe it's doing most of the cameras inside the store. There's a heavy duty server built in there that turns those cameras from, you know, older, just stagnant cameras, if you will, into, you know, being able to pull metadata from that so that we can look at, you know, find all the vehicles very quickly, find the people that are carrying certain objects, things like that. So those are the three different layers that we see our retailer using in different combinations. You know, once again, can't speak to every manufacturer or every retailer on how they're using things, but that's what our customer base out there, they're pulling from those three separate tools and integrating those into their video systems.
Right. Right. And then when they ask about the smaller retailers, or the retailers, the convenience stores, the pharmacies,
So,
that might not have the high value items that you know, a big box store would have. So how do they gauge how they invest in security, given that they're dealing with, you know, toothpaste, deodorant, things like that?
yeah.
All right. So can unifying multiple systems help get more info about items in and out? For example, Sam's Club has implemented a checkout door with multi-angle cameras that can find items in the cart, which is non-intrusive and customer friendly.
And can you repeat the first part of that question too,
Yeah,
please?
they ask if unifying multiple systems can help get more info about items in and out. I think they're asking about combining systems to get better visibility
Yeah.
without stopping somebody at the door and looking at their receipt and looking at the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Steve, do you want to take that, or you want me to handle that one?
Go for it, Grant.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I'm glad you know, probably you know, one of the coolest things I said earlier was frictionless customers, you know, experience. And so, you know, that's definitely where we see you know, those type of events going. You know, if you go to any major airport now, if you go to one of the Amazon stores, right, you're the, I don't know what it, or I can't remember exactly what they're called, but yeah, you walk in and basically you're magically charged the right rate for grabbing a thing of granola and a water. So that's definitely the goal, is to have that frictionless customer experience. Now, when you talk about taking multiple systems out there, 100%, that's what we really believe in, and that's really what, you know, when Steve and I are working with our mutual customers, it's how can we take these disparate systems and bring them together. And you know, I think Steve was really kind of on when he talks about that cutting edge of being able to give it digestible data. That's really the goal, because you know, that really isn't here today for a lot of our retailers from a cost perspective standpoint, and cost may not be exactly what we're talking about, the cost of the technology, but just the manpower to take all that data. You know, when you have, you know, a lot of our retailers have data scientists on staff, but their job is to look at, hey, how is this hurricane going to affect everything in the southeast, right? How is this, you know, how is this trend going to affect everybody? That's where the data scientists really live today. And the goal of taking multiple disparate systems, bringing them together and tying it into video, I think it does twofold. Is one is we can provide more data that can be easily, like Steve talked about, digested by data scientists, and you can validate, hey, we want to spend, you know, six figures to have this data scientist, you know, crunching data from the video surveillance system, and then you can back that data up by, you know, showing the video and being able to say, hey, these are particular incidents that we've drawn across the country. We've looked at everything, and instead of looking at thousands of hours of video, we can boil this down into, this is a typical scenario that we are pulling this data from, and here's 5 minutes of a clip from our store in XYZ city that shows what this is happening. And that's really where we see those systems tying back into video, is we can take the data, digest it, find those incidents, and then we can say, hey, C-suite management, when we see these particular data points come up, here's a video of that transaction, or here's a video of that account, of that customer, and staff interaction, that show kind of the hallmark things that we're looking for. So it allows us to do a lot of things, and then also give non-data scientist people the video that goes along with it to show the incident.
All right. All right, good stuff. I think we're at the end of our session here, unfortunately. Great information. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with us today.
Yeah, guys,
Thanks, Ron.
thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
Thanks, Steve. All right, move on to our next session. And Captain White, if you want to turn on your video, your microphone. All right. I'd like to welcome Captain Ian White. Captain White has more than 22 years of experience with the Campbell, California Police Department, where he currently serves as the supervisor of the Special Enforcement Division. He is also a graduate of the FBI National Academy. We're excited to have him here to discuss a unique program that is successfully addressing retail crime in the community through public-private partnerships. Last month, in fact, his program was honored at the International Association of Chiefs of Police annual banquet with the IACP SIA Michael Shanahan Leadership in Public-Private Cooperation Award, which SIA has the privilege of sponsoring. So, Ian, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you as well, Ronald. Yeah, thank you for having me. Actually, really happy to follow the last set of speakers, because I think there's going to be a lot of overlap in this. And I think the two of them and I could spend a lot of time talking. I think where we're trying to drive the industry to, we need everybody to be kind of working in that direction. So I'm going to share a presentation, and then I know we'll leave some time for some questions, but just give people an idea of how we got to where we're at. So we started this program in 2023. Really, 2022 is when we started our Drone as First Responder program, and that was something we've been involved with drones for a very long time, robotics, and trying to innovate drones in the public safety space. And that program was really designed to put eyes on a crime, any type of crime, really, in the immediate, and to provide officers with more information as they were arriving on scene, and really put officers in the right place. In 23, the state of California opened up an organized retail theft grant, and hopefully everybody here is aware that California, and I think the speakers before spoke to it, we have a pretty significant issue with organized retail theft. And there was conversations around the flash mobs, and even with some of the smaller retailers as well, with our 7-Elevens and other stores, really just making conducting business in California difficult. So the state came out with a around over $250 million grant for agencies to apply to. We applied to that grant, and our proposal was really around real-time response, real-time interdiction. So at the time, we were doing kind of a minimal DFR program, and we wanted to expand on that. We were looking at funding to expand on that, and we'd already seen the benefits of trying to interdict crime in real time. Also, the legal landscape in California, the only way we saw of really trying to prevent these things from happening in our community was to make it very difficult to commit crime. And so that really, the proposal was designed around several things: license plate reading, public safety cameras, a real-time crime center staffed by people to operate those cameras in real time, and then a Drone as First Responder program. And I'll get into that. And then the other side of that, as we built up to the grant proposal, was creating these relationships with our big box retailers, and then also, again, with our smaller retailers throughout the city. And I think those partnerships, obviously highlighted in the award our agency received, that's been really the fantastic outcome of this, is we're starting to look at these problems and how we can really partner with both the industry that's developing these technologies to make them better and apply them to the law enforcement space, but then also with our retail community and how we can support them ways that we can take things that they already have and leverage them to improve our law enforcement response to this problem. So again, our organized retail theft grant was a proposed real-time interdiction strategy. Today, what you'll hear from the law enforcement side is what we're calling these real-time crime centers is precision policing. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's just about putting officers in the right place at the right time. So rather than perhaps responding to the store, we're responding actually to where the suspect's at. And I'll show you some examples of wins we've had there. Unfortunately, and probably fortunately, we were the only agency in the state out of over 100 agencies that received funding. We had applied for $6 million in grant funding to support this whole program. We received a little over $400,000. Because of that, we really had to run lean, but we also had to develop really strategic partnerships, again, with these technology companies that are supporting some of these efforts. And that really put us in a place where we were able to beta test technologies, create, again, deep relationships with on the vendor side to help us accomplish some of these goals. And then, again, created that ability to cross over into our retail partnerships and really work with everybody to get everyone on the same page. Play this short video for you guys.
Symposium is giving us a way to pull in video feeds that we were never able to get before. And it's also going to integrate some systems that we already log into. So it's going to give us that ability to stream body-worn camera footage, in-car camera footage, drone footage, traffic cameras. It gives dispatchers an opportunity to be part of the solution.
So Fusus was what we ended up choosing as our cloud-based real-time crime center platform. Fusus can also operate as a VMS. That's how we use it today, with the goal of really our staff just having an interface with one pane of glass. Uniquely, because it is cloud-based, every officer in the field can log into this. It's integrated with our computer automated dispatch system, so they can get details of the call. And also pull up live video streaming from our public safety cameras, any cameras shared with us by partners, other officers, body-worn cameras for officers' safety purposes, again, our in-car cameras. So it just brings all of this drone footage, everything onto one pane of glass for every end user, and it's not isolated to a room. So again, we can live link to callers, provide immediate information of what suspects look like. Officers are receiving alert notifications in their car of license plate reader hits, gun detection notifications. And as we see these things coming together, we can really see the power of that. This even includes things like when an officer draws their taser or draws their firearm, it automatically activates their body-worn camera and sends an alert into the system. So it's just that's extra level of awareness and the blending of all these different, disparate information sources. So as part of this, we expanded our drone as first responder program that I know of. I think we were the first law enforcement agency to put basically self-contained drone boxes on a roof. And this was back in January of 2025. Other agencies have been operating with people on the roof. Because of the funding that we got, we couldn't support the staff that we had originally asked for. So we really had to, again, find solutions. And the solution we had been driving towards for a long time was a single operator in a room with multiple drone boxes placed throughout the city, really to provide drone coverage to the whole city. We place these drones along our more high crime area, where also most of our big box retailers are, which again was strategic to support this grant that we had received. And this kind of gets back to what I talked about earlier, which is those partnerships with technology companies, again, to find solutions that weren't available. At the time, the only way to conduct DFR was to have visual observers on rooftop for manned aircraft avoidance. There were several companies pushing into this space. One that decided to partner with us was Dedrone, they had a partnership with a radar company called Matrix Space. And as we pushed into this grant period, we were able to get the first FAA waiver in the nation to run 24/7 drone as first responder operations without visual observers on the roof. So ultimately accomplishing that goal of a single operator in a room flying drones from fixed locations.
Drone as a first responder has made a number of differences, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint just one. Everything from a benign incident, which frees up ground units, to alarms, right? Where you might have a residential or commercial alarm. Now a drone can respond out and give us a good idea of what's happening if there is, in fact, an alarm sounding. But then, do we have broken glass? Do we have someone running from the building? Do we have regular work or business occurring as usual? So we get enhanced situational awareness that gives us a better understanding of what we are responding to.
So typically for our agency, and we use the drones and the canines on a call, we will typically clear as much as we can with the drones first, and then we'll utilize the dogs to search areas that those might not be able to get into, such as closed doors, crawl spaces, or other areas that drone can't get into to search for us.
So I'll talk a little bit about the development of our public safety camera systems. We went out to several different companies. Again, we did not receive funding to support this, so we had to look for partnerships and find ways to really streamline this process, which has led us to really building our own 5G connectivity boxes in-house, utilizing point-to-point network systems. And most of this came from, again, partnership with security, specifically security and camera system industry people that really helped us get to the point that we needed to be to support our own system, to be able to do it in a way that was affordable under the funding that we had available to us. So this is a power box and connectivity box that we use on street lights where we have maybe only timed power, so on a photo cell, so it's only getting power 12 hours a day. So we're building our own battery boxes in-house today. And this is an example of our 5G box using an Ericsson Cradle Point. We typically run dual SIM with AT&T FirstNet and Verizon. And again, this taps directly into the pole. We plug the cameras directly into this, and then we are able to stream all of that video directly into Fusus. When we first started this project, we thought we'd be able to bring in our legacy camera systems, our roadway camera systems, and come to find that they were so old that they were not very useful for what we were trying to accomplish. Also, as we are building this out, we are looking for cameras that are going to be able to leverage the AI features that we're using within Fusus. So another reason we chose Fusus was the automations at the time that were built into it. We knew we didn't have the funding to fully staff. We've been one of the few to roll Fusus into our dispatch center, and it's been hugely successful having dispatchers operate these systems during calls. But it was just another way that we kind of had to pivot to make the best use of our funding. And again, we'll get into that more, and I'll show you some of those successes. These are just some photos of our public safety camera systems that we're installing throughout the city. Again, heat mapping our high crime areas, focusing on our retail corridors, and then really at this point, it's our major thoroughfares, being sensitive to the fact that people don't want cameras in their neighborhoods, but if we can strategically place them to solve crime. And initially, it's been really focused on organized retail theft. We've seen a lot of success, and we've been very forward-facing with all of it, had community meetings, retail meetings, so people know what we're doing, and we're not hiding the ball on any of this. And I think that's been part of the success, building in that community buy-in and transparency. Automated license plate readers. We do utilize Flock, and we do some sharing with some of our retail community on the Flock side. One of the things we did do is we went into a beta test with Kingfinity and Bosch on their license plate reading systems, and we're working on pulling those directly into Fusus. Again, it's a pivot funding and both sustainability, getting live view video from these high-end cameras that are also pulling metadata of vehicle information into our systems. And then I really want to touch on the private public partnerships, and I hope we'll get into some Q&A on that at some point during this conversation. But that's really been the focus outside of bringing on all these technologies is how do we leverage those partnerships to improve our response and our service to the retail community and the community in general. And so this is where kind of the Fusus core product comes in, and it's something that we initially sought funding for our retail organizations for. And again, because of the partial funding, this was an unfunded portion of the project. Today, though, I'm happy to say that our DA's office has thrown funding at this. And so I just received core products that my detective bureau is going to go out and start installing on some of our businesses that have been harder hit. As you can see, especially for, to kind of address those questions around the small businesses, if you look at like the Core Lite package, the first year price includes the core, and then the ongoing year after that and ongoing years is $150 a year. When you think about some of the costs related to security that our retailers pay for, this allows them the ability to directly share their camera systems into the law enforcement real-time crime center. We're able to live view them during an incident. The other very interesting part of this is that retailers are allowed to choose how they share because of the computer automated dispatch integration with Fusus. The end user, the retailer, the customer can decide, hey, I only want my cameras to turn on for the law enforcement agency when there's a 911 call from my business or in the near vicinity of my interest. And I only want to share the cameras that are in the public spaces and the ones that are on the exterior of my business. And so typically what we ask for is like, hey, if you're going to share cameras with us, can you share the exterior all the time of the public areas? That way, if there is crime in the area, we're able to pull from those video streams. And then if you have, an incident within your store, we'll do that on a permission. Our preference is to do that on a permission basis. And this is all audit logged and tracked. So, we can go back and pull reports on who has looked at those camera systems and what the reason was and what call they were connected to. But the power of this, I think, is really what I'd like to get into as we continue the conversation is this idea of sharing. And I'm happy to say that we do have some of our big box stores starting to get behind sharing their cameras, and we're hoping to be able to turn some cameras on. And one of our retailers that is significantly impacted by organized retail theft, again, to improve the response. And we'll get into a little bit of alerting, but just one other thing I'll add about this system is it also allows retail store line staff access to like a digital application on a phone where they could hit an alert that would send an alert into our dispatch center and bring their cameras live, letting us know that something was going on in the store. So it would alert the real-time operations center, and again, it would bring those cameras live in real time. That's what a Fusus core product looks like. For most instances, that core product will just sit on top of an existing VMS system, and it's pretty plug and play. You plug it in, you plug it into the internet, it's CJIS compliant. It allows for sharing of evidence after the fact as well, so it streamlines that process for the retailer as well. So all in all, for cost, return on investment with this type of thing, we think is really not comparable right now with the other things that are out there. And again, it's that direct connection to law enforcement. And again, this is across the board. So especially in Silicon Valley, we look at our campuses. One of the things that we have done on our city facilities is we have added this gun and gunshot visual detection system, and we've integrated it with our access control. So the idea being that if someone approaches with a gun to the facility, It will lock down that facility, send an alert into the real-time crime center, and we are in the process of integrating with our mass notification system to also send an alert to all employees, providing specific instructions. I think this is actually what has come out of this project. I think this could end up being one of the more powerful when you talk about gun detection, gunshot detection, the things that we see in our society today. This may be a game changer. I think it is a game changer for how law enforcement responds to these types of incidents, but I think it'll go beyond that too. This is a view of what we can do inside of Fusus. So this is an overlay, a map overlay of one of our schools. It's 2 stories. What you don't see is there's typically a toggle on the right side of the screen, and I can pull up the second floor mapping as well. If they were sharing their cameras with us, what you would see is you would see green cameras all over where they were specifically placed within the school. If they were live to us, if they were sharing permission based, they'd be red until an emergency happened. The point of this is if you think about any type of campus scenario, whether it's a tech campus, you know, a mall that's enclosed, you know, if you strategically place these types of systems and you're connected to law enforcement, we would have the ability within milliseconds to get alerted to someone approaching a facility with a gun, and we would have a photo of that person. Responding officers would have a location on that person, and we would be able to live track. So it would, again, back to that idea of being precise. Right now, when you think of our historical way of responding to these types of incidents, you know, it's we don't have a lot of information when we arrive, and we don't necessarily know where the person is in real time. And the technology exists today to change that reality. And so from that perspective, on all of this, I'm very excited about where this is going and the potential power of all of these partnerships. And so these are some of our tech partners. Like I said, we have managed to leverage a lot of beta, a lot of help. And what I will say, and I didn't know going into this, is I have found people in the security industry and on the vendor side to really be helpful and really want to help us reach that goal. And so I'm just very excited about where we're headed. I'm excited about what this industry is doing. We're doing things with trackers like 3SI. We have examples of retailers that are using that. That 3SI tracker pops up on our Fusus map, again, allowing full visibility to all of our end users and officers to see where that tracker is at. We've had several successful interdictions using that 3SI tracker. I'm going to jump into some case examples. Not all of these are organized retail theft. We do lean heavy on promoting the organized retail theft wins because we are receiving grant money for that. But I do want to highlight the fact that these technologies are really improving our ability to interdict and solve crimes in real time. This is one of our early ones, and this was an example from Kohl's. I'll play the video. So this was a theft that was occurring. These are cameras from inside of the store. Currently, Kohl's does not share cameras, but again, if we had access to their cameras, we would be getting this in real time. And that, I can tell you, when we launch a drone, would help us pinpoint these people in the parking lot, help put our officers in the right place. But in this instance, they got out of the store and he actually climbed onto the roof of a residence near the retail area. We would have never found him outside of having that drone available to us. So it just shows you the power of those technologies and how we can very quickly get to the crime and stop it in real time with those types of tools. This was a brandishing a weapon. This actually involved the parking lot of our Home Depot. The brandishing of a machete occurred inside of the Home Depot. We had both ALPR cameras and public safety cameras in the area. Using those and actually some AI searching tools within the Fusus platform, we're able to determine where the van turned, and officers were able to locate it with our drone parked behind a abandoned large business complex. And that's the image of the van turning into the parking lot. It was found to the rear of that parking lot. And that's the image of the machete that was brandished in the parking lot of the Home Depot. So when we think about, there was also drugs involved in this case. When we think about some of the things that we see with retail and violence during retail theft, this is just a good example of how we can use these technologies to quickly interdict these problems. I don't think we would have found this individual without that tool. This was a stolen vehicle and drug possession. Again, both using license plate readers and public safety cameras, we were able to see where the van turned, the license plate on the van to confirm it was stolen, and then ultimately recover the van. This was a felony vandalism of a suspect that was running down the street, smashing windows and confronting a security guard in a business. This was at night. Our dispatchers were able to utilize the public safety camera system. Underneath that Carlisle sign, you can't really see it in the image, but you'll see that black kind of blob against that electrical box right there. And then over here at that A-frame Wiener Schnitzel business, you'll see the person wearing all black. That's our suspect. And they were able to consistently track him through the event to get officers to where he was. I can almost guarantee that based on the time of night, what he was wearing, without the cameras, he would have inevitably gotten away. And then this is, again, an organized retail theft. We were able to use public safety cameras to identify the vehicle and license plate readers and identify the vehicle getting onto the roadway. We were able to follow up and get all 4 people in custody based on information from the cameras. And then this one was a hit and run. And again, you can see just with the quality of cameras, we do have some cameras that we are getting quality images of the drivers, and hoping that at some point we'll be able to use other AI technology to help assist with identification. And then again, just another, this was outside of one of our strip malls, where we do have an Ulta and some other businesses that see a lot of retail theft. So we have a pan-tilt zoom camera out there. And this is an image of the suspect that the victim ended up going to the hospital with some pretty major injuries. And it was a completely uninstigated, a random attack in the middle of the roadway. This is a grand theft. Again, organized retail theft. This was a siphoning gas from our U-Haul parking lot. It happened multiple times, resulting in thousands of dollars of loss for U-Haul. Utilizing the public safety cameras in the area, we were able to get vehicle descriptions. And in this truck, you can actually see the gas cans in the back of the truck. When they returned, officers knew what they were looking for. They've been waiting in the area the following couple of nights and ended up getting everyone involved in custody. And then this last video is one of our more recent Home Depot thefts, and it was one of my my more favorite examples, only because it shows the blending of how all of these streamed videos can come together just to provide more situational awareness and again interdict the suspect where he's at in circumstances where the person may have ultimately been able to escape.
Shoplifting just occurred at Home Depot. Subject has a Home Depot bucket full of merch. We have our drone out there that has an eye on him, and an officer's on the way. Channel 149, I can't over to the back.
Channel 149, he's running.
He went eastbound. He's crossing Hamilton. He's now on the north side of the street, continuing eastbound. And now he's crossing back. He's now wearing a green shirt. He's still on the track. Looks like he's gonna jump over the fence. He's jumping over the fence to the east of the track. He's gonna be at the building east of Fidelity.
Lay flat on the ground now. Hands out to the side. Don't move. You're going here.
Okay.
Accomplishing district.
So, I mean, as you can see, even with minimal funding, our ability to just create these partnerships and push this project forward has resulted in a lot of success cases. Where I think this is going, and I think kind of piggybacking off of the earlier conversation, when you talk about things like flash mobs, I've had conversations with our vendors and our technology companies about those types of incidents, and incidents like sideshows in the middle of the roadway, which are a huge issue here in the Bay Area. And I think that as we today take some of the AI automations that are built into these edge-based cameras and into these cloud-based software systems, we're going to be able to do things that generate alerts into a real-time crime center, like, you know, abnormalities like large people gathering around the front door of a retail business. If we have access to their cameras, would generate to their exterior cameras, could and should generate a, hey, you might want to look here and see if there's something abnormal happening at this store. Similar to the intersection, cars should be traveling smoothly through an intersection. Cameras today can alert us to the fact that, hey, there's a car that's making abnormal turns within the intersection. You should probably take a look here. So I think as we progress into these integrations with the private sector, which I'm hoping to drive through conversations like this, that we're going to see the expansion of these tools to really draw our attention. Again, that idea of precision policing, where historically we just drove around town looking for the problem or waiting for someone to call. We're going to get pre-indicators of a problem. We're going to have cameras in the area, drones in the area, and the ability to immediately interdict that problem safely away from the store, and start to have a significant impact on these issues. So I think AI-driven automations, drone and public safety automations, like automated responses to alerts, whether it's a tracker, you know, with the PTZs in the area following a tracker, or the drone following a tracker, or ALPR hit. We're going to see these automations, AI automations, continue to expand. We're going to see camera pass-offs through AI. That means, like, if a suspect leaves one field of view and enters another, that camera will recognize that and alert officers, even though they're in disparate locations throughout the city. I think we're going to see a huge increase, and we're already seeing it, frankly, in the DFR space. But I think the idea of the use of robotics in law enforcement is going to continue to expand. So that's my information. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Please feel free to connect with me. That's the end of my presentation, but I'm happy to continue the conversation and discuss some more. So.
All right, thank you very much for that. Really impressive uses of technology. I think I mentioned when we were at IACP last month to you and to Chief Berg. To me, it's the kind of thing that you'd expect to see in a metropolitan area, and it's really something to see you guys doing it in your community and integrating all these different systems. It's quite an achievement. So we are running a little short on time, but do want to get to one question, at least for our Q&A. How do you handle the outreach to retailers and other private sector businesses, and what kind of response have you received?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, our smaller mom and pop stores are a little bit easier, but that's been a bit of a pain point. I've actually leveraged LinkedIn to what I have found is finding the people that are more at the corporate level of these, especially big box retail. A lot of times our regional security people, you know, they only have so much decision-making power, and a lot of these decisions, especially for big box retail, when it comes to sharing camera systems, those are decisions that are going to be made by corporate legal, you know, heads of global security, that type of thing. So we've seen some success, but I can tell you, like, the one that I think we're going to get across the finish line very quickly in the near term those conversations started almost 2 years ago. So my hope is that the industry in general will see the value of sharing cameras, and once one or two larger global retail firms come on board, that we'll start to see the trickle effect of everybody wanting to engage in camera sharing with law enforcement.
All right, good stuff. All right, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it, and good to hear all the success stories.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Take care. All right, to close us out, I'd like to welcome Lisa Labruno, Senior Executive Vice President at the Retail Industry Leaders Association and Executive Director of the RELA Communities Foundation. Lisa previously worked as an Assistant County Prosecutor in Hudson County, New Jersey, and as in-house attorney at the Home Depot. So she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the challenges of retail security. Lisa, thank you very much for being here.
Hey, Ronald, thanks for having me. But appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you and to share with you some of the retail crime initiatives that we're working on at RELA and the RELA Communities Foundation. Really just wanted to share, there's about 4 programs that we're working on around retail crime mitigation. Many of those programs involve leveraging technologies, so I'll spend a little bit more time on those. But essentially, the RELA Communities Foundation is part of RELA and is partnering with the National District Attorneys Association and IACP on crime mitigation efforts. There you can see here in one slide the various programs that we're working on. I'll spend most of my time sharing with you about the Vibrant Communities Initiative, VCI Lite, underreporting, the Gift Card Fraud Prevention Alliance. The far right just shows some of the year-round offerings that we're working on with NDAA. I think most relevant for this group is that we host an annual retail crime workshop in conjunction with RELA's Asset Protection Conference, which I'm sure many of you already participate in. And before the opening reception, we will be hosting our 5th annual retail crime workshop, where we convene law enforcement, prosecutors, and retailers to talk about persistent challenges and try to come up with some creative solutions for addressing those challenges. The first major project that we're working on, we refer to as VCI. We launched it 2 years ago in King County, Washington, and Yolo County, California. And it really was an opportunity for us to address what we saw as deteriorating social and economic conditions that were impacting not just retail stores, but the entire shopping experience. And we wanted to get to a point where we were actively engaging with law enforcement and prosecutors to address retail crime, put some real focus on it, and collaborate with one another to try to mitigate it. And so we went into Yolo County and King County with 3 main objectives, all sort of premised on the theory that about 80% of retail losses are caused by about 20% of the offenders. We recognize that law enforcement and prosecutors' resources are constrained, and we thought if we could just focus in on what we call the highest impact or the most prolific offenders, we could tap into the limited resources of law enforcement and prosecutors and still have a significant impact. And so we went into these 2 communities. We leveraged a single crime linking platform. So we required all retailers to leverage Aura for their retail theft events so that we could maximize the opportunity to identify common offenders who were targeting multiple retailers and were surfacing as the highest impact offenders. And so every week we met we would have information sharing calls where we would try to identify unnamed high impact offenders, leveraging CCTV, LPR, some other technologies. We would also meet with the prosecutors on the off week and just understand what their strategy would be for holding these offenders accountable. We learned a lot from pilot number one. Probably one of the most significant learnings was that requiring all retailers to enter their theft events into a single crime linking platform, while it allowed us to maximize identifying common offenders who were prolific, it wasn't aligned with reality, because retailers, there's a lot of really good crime linking platforms out there, and retailers are using a variety of those platforms. And so we went into 2 new communities in Kansas City Metro and New York County, with a main objective of identifying tech agnostic solutions to crime linking. And so we invited participating retailers to bring with them their crime linking platforms so that we could identify and evaluate approaches for identifying common offenders, not just within a single platform, but across multiple platforms. The other new initiative that came out of pilot number one was to spend some time focusing on fencing locations, both from an education perspective, so helping law enforcement and more so prosecutors understand how fence locations operate, what the retailer investigative capabilities are, what technology they're leveraging to prove that merchandise inside fence locations is in fact stolen. And then also to identify some creative approaches to either disrupting or completely dismantling fence locations. What's been interesting from that perspective is that our fencing programs in KC Metro vary very starkly from the fencing program in Manhattan, just because of the very different environments that both communities offer. What was interesting about our KC Metro fencing program is it took us a very short period of time, probably about 10 minutes in the first fencing program call, to figure out that of the 10 most prolific fence locations operating in the KC Metro area, 9 of them were operating in a single county, which meant we could really build the partnership with that county prosecutor's office, as well as the 2 PDs who had jurisdiction over those prolific fence locations, and really put emphasis on going after those fence locations within a single county. Of course, we maintained the initial objectives of pilot number one. We brought them over into pilot number 2. And we continue to be in KC Metro and Manhattan, identifying high impact offenders, holding them accountable through collaboration with law enforcement and prosecutors, and various other outcomes that are having a real impact there. So just last month, we launched another version of BCI called BCI Lite in an attempt to roll out a similar program to that which we're operating under BCI, but a program that would not be so labor and resource intensive. As I said, with BCI, we meet every week with law enforcement, prosecutors, and retailers. There's a significant technology component to the information sharing, and we recognize that that might not be replicatable in communities across the country, and that's really our overarching objective. And so we launched BCI Lite in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where we are focused on a single outlet mall versus multiple counties, multiple cities, et cetera. We are working with a single prosecutor's office instead of multiple prosecutors' offices like you see in KC Metro, and a single PD. Again, it was pretty compelling on the first kickoff call where we brought everybody together, and it really didn't take a whole lot of time or effort to identify some very quick to-dos that would have significant impact. And just in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of these low-hanging fruit items, but suffice it to say, what we've learned very loud and clear from BCI and BCI Lite is that there continue to be major opportunities for law enforcement, prosecutors, and retailers to collaborate with one another, focused on streamlining processes for holding offenders accountable, and really focusing in on the highest impact offenders. One thing we learned through BCI, we leverage an academic from Southern Illinois University to evaluate everything that we do in BCI. And one of the findings, it was not at all surprising, but it validated, frankly, what we as an industry already knew, but some out-of-industry folks weren't so understanding of the real environment around retail theft. There was a report from CCJ that some of you might remember several years ago that said that retail theft was down across the country. We were giving off mixed signals in earnings reports about the impact of theft, external theft on shrink and profit. And so we really wanted to examine the theft reporting rate because we knew that there was a huge delta between what occurs in retail stores versus what gets reported to law enforcement. And so you can see from this slide that in 2023, I think is when we did this, retail theft reporting, the rate was about 10%. So retailers reporting about 10% of retail theft that was occurring in their stores across the country. On the left, you can see that the number of recorded events in retailers' case management systems was increasing steadily from 2019 to 2023, but the reporting rate was remaining relatively flat. And I don't need to explain to this group why it's important that we have accurate crime data. And so just again, last month, we partnered with IACP and the Reno, Nevada and Boston, Massachusetts police departments, along with multiple retailers to identify and evaluate approaches to increasing the reporting of retail crime to law enforcement. I think there's going to be a significant technology component here. We haven't quite spec'd out what that's going to look like, but online reporting tools is an opportunity. Automated reporting directly from a case management system to the PD is an opportunity. But a lot of this is ensuring effective communication between PDs and retailers about the need for more accurate retail crime data. The last of the four major projects that I wanted to share with you relates to the growing problem of gift card fraud. So the RCF stood up the Gift Card Fraud Prevention Alliance in early 2025 at the request of Homeland Security Investigations and a couple of retailers who had formed a coalition to try to inform investigations in cases around gift card tampering. We have since grown the alliance in terms of membership as well as scope. And this next slide shows you all of the focus areas that we're driving within the Alliance. Again, intel sharing, where we meet every other week to talk about high impact offenders and gangs. We're leveraging LPR, centralized evidence processing, crime linking platforms, and some other technology to try to coalesce around the highest impact offenders and gangs across the country. We are convening the business folks within retail organizations to share best practices around how they're mitigating gift card fraud. We are hosting regular vendor pitches, exposing the retailers to cutting edge solutions that are designed to mitigate gift card tampering and scams. We've got a very robust state public policy effort in an effort to close the loopholes in criminal statutes across the country that hamstring law enforcement and prosecutors as it relates to charging and prosecuting gift card crime. And we've also got a really aggressive consumer awareness campaign, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that soon. We're teaming up with attorneys generals to try to elevate the campaign we already have underway on LinkedIn, Instagram, and various other channels. And so with this last slide, I really just wanted to share with everybody, if you're interested in learning more, you can follow us on Instagram at protectmygiftcard.com. And you can also follow the RELA Communities Foundation on LinkedIn to stay in the know of what work we're driving and what technology we're pursuing. And with that, Ronald, I'll turn it back to you.
All right, thanks for Lisa. Thanks for that, Lisa. Some great programs there. So at the end of the last session, Captain White was asked about their outreach to retailers, how they go about it, what kind of response they get. He mentioned that it has been kind of a challenge. In your experience, are retailers eager to engage with these kind of programs that partner with law enforcement that approach retail security in kind of a unique way?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think we've done a really good job in educating law enforcement. The partnership with the National District Attorneys Association has been a game changer, and our members really appreciate the opportunity to sit around the table, get on virtual brainstorming sessions, attend webinars with prosecutors around the country to educate them on everything that retailers are up against as it relates to retail crime, but frankly, for them to also learn from prosecutors what the prosecutors' challenges are and how we can address those challenges on their behalf. Our members are super excited, super eager, and remain really optimistic about the partnerships that we've formed, with IACP, with NDAA, with their respective members, and really just trying to come up with creative ways, creative ways, to get the stakeholders collaborating.
Right. All right. Great stuff. All right. So we're at 2:30 now. So perfect timing. Thank you very much for that presentation. Appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. And with that, I want to thank all of our speakers today, as well as our sponsors, Salient Systems and Verkada, and of course, our partners at RELA, the Retail Industry Leaders Alliance. And thank all of you who attended today. We appreciate you spending part of your day with us. And we will see you on December 11th for our next symposium, which will be on banking security. And before we go, I do want to mention that those of you who are interested in retail security, you can reach out to get more information about a new group that SIA is launching, a retail advisory board, which will focus on many of the issues that we discussed today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.